Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. We're continuing our series of daily morning meditations where we generally look at one or another of the lessons that are assigned for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the Daily Office Lectionary. And today is the 5th of January, and so the morning prayer is morning prayer for the 5th of January, and then evening prayer is actually the eve of the Epiphany, or what is known as the first Vespers of Epiphany. January 6th begins a new church season. Today's the 12th day of Christmas. And so I thought what we'd take to do is take a look at the lesson that's assigned for evening prayer from Luke's Gospel, because it's the one that's assigned for the eve of the Feast of the Epiphany. It's Luke chapter 3, beginning at verse 15. And as the people were in expectation, and all men mused in their hearts of John, whether he were the Christ or not, John answered, saying unto them all, I indeed baptize you with water, but one mightier than I cometh, the latchet of whose shoes I am not worthy to unloose. He shall baptize you with the Holy Ghost and with fire, whose fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly purge his floor, and will gather the wheat into his garner, but the chaff he will burn with unquenchable fire. And many other things in his exhortation preached he unto the people. But Herod the Tetrarch, being reproved by him for Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, and for all the evils which Herod had done, yet added this above all, that he shut up John in prison. Now, when all the people were baptized, it came to pass that Jesus also being baptized and praying, and the heaven were opened. And the Holy Ghost descended in a bodily shape like a dove upon him, and a voice came from heaven, which said, Thou art my beloved Son, in thee I am well pleased. Okay, so we got a couple Herods that we're dealing with today for the Feast of the Epiphany. We have Herod, the current Herod in St. Luke's Gospel, and this is the Herod who will eventually be the one who will also, Jesus will be brought before to ask out whether he is the Christ. He has a run-in, this Herod, with John the Baptist, because John the Baptist has reproved him for taking his brother's wife, right? That's a no-no. And so, of course, he's being reproved for that. But in a sense, it's helping us to set up for the fact that the Herods, the kings of this world, unfortunately, will be selfish and self-serving. Because tomorrow we'll hear about his father, Herod, who would be the king who would ultimately have the slaughter of the holy innocents, and would be the one who the Magi will go to ask where this king, this new king of Israel, has been born, so they can go and worship him. And of course, Herod says, well, when you find him, come and tell me so I can go and worship him too. We know this Herod is being deceptive. He doesn't want to go and worship him. In fact, he wants to go and to kill this king, because the king is competition. Herod is a very selfish man, and not considered one of great, he's not considered a legitimate heir to the throne in Israel, but he's a puppet for the Roman government, for a local leader. So there's a lot of politics involved in this part of the story. Jesus comes into the world at a time what is known as Pax Romana, where the world was mostly at peace because the Romans had taken over everything, and yet internally you had issues, religious issues among the Jewish people, the squabbles between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, but you also had Herod, who was not recognized as legitimate king by many in that time period, and he's one who's about power rather than what he is for doing the will of God. And we see that throughout all the Old Testament. And that some kings were good, many of them were not. It's their fallen human nature. So today's the feast, the eve of the Epiphany. We'll have a 10:30 Mass today, Thursday, and then 4 o'clock evening prayer. Tomorrow for the Feast of the Epiphany, usually we don't have public worship on Fridays, but we will tomorrow. We'll have a 12:15 Mass for the Feast of the Epiphany tomorrow. And I do pray that you will have a Thursday that is full of blessings.